One of the most common questions that we're asked about our dashboards with clients is what's the rate of return? What rate of return did you use? Or how did you come up with that rate of return? So I just wanted to make a quick video today about how we do that at Camber. The first thing to talk about is we use as the basis of our rates projection assumption guidelines provided by the licensing body for Canadian Certified Financial Planning Professionals, and that's FP Canada. And they have some smart people that do a really good study every year about what are appropriate rates of return to use for long-term personal financial projections, so like 10 plus years or more. And I've done a bit of just a recap here of the study for 2020 and the guidelines and the changes to the guidelines. And actually, I think there's some interesting data points here just with where we are in the world with all of the volatility that we've been seeing and COVID. You can see here that, inflation, savings account interest rates, borrowing rates, fixed income returns, they're all projecting down and substantially. This is just year over year. So if you're a fixed income investor and we were building a dashboard for you, we would be reducing the fixed income rate of return that we would have been using last year. I do think it's really interesting here that, again, during this time of volatility, no change on Canadian equities or US and foreign developed stock markets. This is effectively the entire world here. No change for the long term. So I just think that's, take that for what it's worth, but it's an interesting data point. If you're a long investor in equities, there's probably no reason to be, panicking or looking at changes. Small reduction in emerging market equities, but I mean, that's almost nothing. And so from here, what we do is we use these rates as our basis to do some calculations. And so this is just a spreadsheet that we use at Camber that we developed. I've just created an example account here, and I've put in a global fund, maybe a little bit of Google and Toyota. They're out on the right here. You can see those there. Okay, and then maybe some cash. And so from there, what we do is we break down the global allocation of this money. So this global fund, I'm assuming it's 100% equity, and we've got some Canadian equity, US equity, international, and emerging markets. There's our cash, and then again further over, we've got some Google and Toyota, which are added to the totals. So we know the geographic breakdown. And the geographic breakdown is what FP Canada is giving us as well. So we've kind of built it around the numbers that they give us. So here we are looking at how we're building the geographic breakdown of our portfolios. So the 100% equity portfolio that I put some numbers in there for, we're assuming it's 32% Canada, 40% US, 20% international, 8% emerging markets, obviously no fixed income in an equity portfolio. These numbers come right from our portfolio manager. So, we have these very accurate. We also create some outside portfolios for our clients that they still have some money outside of Camber. We're not sure exactly, or we don't want to go to the time and effort to actually break out exactly what the asset allocation looks like. So we just make some assumptions about a general portfolio. If we do want to go to the trouble to break everything out, we can actually build position by position how that asset allocation looks and have the return come out appropriately. So this is how we break down the geographic. From here, we look at the nature of that return. So you can see here, there's our 2020 financial planning reference values. And so let's just look at Canadian equities. We're making an assumption that Canadian equities are returning 48% of their total return as dividends and 52% as capital gains. So you're getting about half of this 6.1 as dividends and half of the 6.1 as capital gains. And then we actually do factor in the turnover rate of our portfolios. And so we've made similar assumptions about US equities, international equities. And again, our portfolio management has helped us with this. And so we know that we're pretty, we're in the ballpark on these numbers here, and we're going to create a tax outcome that actually resembles what you might expect with these portfolios that we use at Camber. Again, we've made some other assumptions here about outside portfolios. Interesting comment on fixed income as we dove into it over the last few years. High proportion of our fixed income return is coming from capital gains. So actually buying and selling bonds rather than holding it to maturity and collecting some income. So this is, it's important to capture this in your financial model to get the tax right. And again, everything is kept within the bounds of these FPSC returns that we use. And then these are actually the numbers that go in from those calculations here. So, Canadian equities, 2.93% on dividends, 3.17% on capital gains, and that gives us our 6.1. And then so all of this is blended at the account level. So if we head down here to the return profile that we've created with all those tables and calculations, this little example account that I've created would get a little bit of interest income in the financial model. It would have some Canadian dividends, even more foreign dividends, and then capital gains. You can use a weighted MER if you want to set up the account that way. This is 100% stocks, and again, just as a check, we can see the breakdown of the different equity classes that we use. So that's what's going into these dashboards that we build. We do our best to replicate the tax experience that you'll have with the portfolios that we use, and that's how we give advice on outside portfolios as well relative to your portfolios here at Camber. Thank you.